You don't deserve this job, the man barked, his voice echoing through the hotel lobby. Lisa, a young black receptionist, stood behind the counter, her hands trembling as she tried to maintain her professionalism. The man's words cut like knives, and the few guests in the lobby shifted uncomfortably, unsure whether to intervene. What Lisa didn't know was that her quiet strength in this moment would soon be tested in a way no one could have imagined. Before we dive into Lisa's extraordinary story, let us know where you're watching from today. And if you're inspired by stories of courage, resilience, and kindness, subscribe to Story Dash. Because tomorrow, we'll share another tale that will move you to tears. Lisa had worked at the Crestfall Grand Hotel for 3 years. She loved her job, not just because it paid the bills, but because it allowed her to meet people from all walks of life. Despite the occasional rude guest, she prided herself on staying calm under pressure. But today, that calm was hanging by a thread. The guest standing in front of her, Mr. Walter Greaves, was a middle-aged businessman with a sharp suit and an even sharper tongue. He had stormed into the lobby after finding his room didn't have the view he wanted. Lisa had tried to explain that the hotel was fully booked and no other rooms were available, but Mr. Greaves wasn't interested in explanations. "You people are all the same," he spat, leaning across the counter. "Incompetent, lazy, and clueless. You should be grateful you even have a job like this." Lisa felt her chest tighten, but she refused to let his words break her. She took a deep breath and forced herself to speak calmly. "I'm sorry for the inconvenience, sir. If you give me a moment, I'll do my best to find a solution." "Your best isn't good enough," he snapped. "I'll be speaking to your manager about this." Lisa nodded, her heart pounding. She wanted to say something to defend herself, but she knew that arguing would only make things worse. As Mr. Greaves turned and stomped away, she glanced around the lobby, her cheeks burning with humiliation. A few guests gave her sympathetic looks, but no one said a word. That evening, as Lisa finished her shift, the memory of Mr. Greaves's words lingered. She had dealt with difficult guests before, but there was something particularly cruel about him. She shook her head, trying to push the incident out of her mind. Tomorrow was a new day. Unbeknownst to her, tomorrow would bring far more than she could have anticipated. The next morning, the Crestfall Grand was buzzing with activity. A corporate conference had filled the hotel to capacity, and Lisa was busier than ever, checking in guests and handling requests. She noticed Mr. Greaves striding through the lobby at one point, his expression as sour as the day before. She avoided his gaze, focusing on her work. Around midday, Lisa's manager, Mrs. Patel, approached the desk. "Lisa, I just wanted to say you handled that situation with Mr. Greaves very professionally yesterday," she said. "He's been known to cause problems wherever he stays." Lisa offered a small smile. "Thank you, Mrs. Patel. I just try to stay calm." "You do more than that," Mrs. Patel replied warmly. "And I want you to know that your hard work doesn't go unnoticed." The kind words lifted Lisa's spirits, but her day was about to take an unexpected turn. It was late afternoon when the fire alarm sounded. At first, Lisa thought it was a drill, but the smell of smoke quickly filled the air. Guests began filing into the lobby, some looking panicked, others confused. Lisa sprang into action, guiding them toward the exits and reassuring them that help was on the way. "Everyone, please remain calm," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos. "The fire department has been called and will ensure everyone gets out safely." Amid the commotion, she noticed Mr. Greaves standing by the elevator bank, looking disoriented. He was holding a briefcase and seemed reluctant to leave. Lisa approached him. "Mr. Greaves, you need to evacuate," she said firmly. "I can't leave my belongings behind," he replied, clutching his briefcase. "There are important documents in here." Lisa resisted the urge to roll her eyes. "Sir, your safety is more important than anything in that briefcase. Please follow me." But Mr. Greaves shook his head and started toward the elevator. Lisa knew she couldn't let him go. "The elevators aren't safe during a fire," she called out, hurrying after him. "You need to take the stairs." Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the building, followed by the sound of shattering glass. The smoke thickened, and Lisa realized the situation was far worse than she had thought. She grabbed Mr. Greaves by the arm. "We have to go now." Lisa led Mr. Greaves down the emergency staircase, her heart pounding with every step. The smoke made it hard to see, and the heat was almost unbearable. Mr. Greaves stumbled, coughing violently, and Lisa tightened her grip on his arm to steady him. "Keep moving," she urged. "We're almost there." When they finally emerged into the cool air outside, Lisa felt a wave of relief. Firefighters were on the scene, battling the blaze, as hotel staff and guests gathered in the parking lot. Lisa guided Mr. Greaves to a paramedic who checked him over. As Mr. Greaves caught his breath, he looked at Lisa, his expression unreadable. You didn't have to help me," he said quietly. "After the way I treated you." Lisa met his gaze, her own eyes filled with compassion. "Everyone deserves to be safe," she replied simply. For the first time, Mr. Greaves seemed at a loss for words. He opened his mouth to speak, but before he could say anything, a firefighter approached to ask Lisa a question. She excused herself, leaving Mr. Greaves to reflect on what had just happened. In the days that followed, the story of Lisa's bravery spread throughout the hotel. Guests who had witnessed the evacuation praised her calm demeanor and quick thinking. Even the local news picked up the story, dubbing her a hero. Mr. Greaves, meanwhile, couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. He felt a deep sense of shame for how he had treated Lisa and decided to do something about it. One afternoon, as Lisa was finishing her shift, she was called to the manager's office. When she walked in, she found Mrs. Patel and Mr. Greaves waiting for her. Lisa froze, unsure of what to expect. "Lisa," Mrs. Patel began, "Mr. Greaves has something he'd like to say." Mr. Greaves stood, his usual arrogance replaced by humility. "Lisa, I owe you an apology," he said. "The way I spoke to you was unacceptable, and I deeply regret it. You showed incredible courage and kindness, even when I didn't deserve it. Thank you for saving my life." Lisa was taken aback. She had never expected an apology, let alone such heartfelt words. "Thank you, Mr. Greaves," she said softly. "That means a lot." But Mr. Greaves wasn't done. He reached into his pocket and pulled out an envelope. "This is a small token of my gratitude," he said, handing it to her. "I know it can't make up for my behavior, but I hope it helps." Inside the envelope was a check for $10,000. Lisa's eyes widened in disbelief. I don't know what to say," she stammered. "Just keep being the incredible person you are," Mr. Greaves replied. Lisa's act of bravery didn't just save a life. It sparked a transformation. Mr. Greaves began volunteering at a local community center, determined to become a better person. And Lisa, now celebrated as a hero, continued to inspire everyone around her with her strength and kindness. Before you go, let us know. Have you ever witnessed or experienced an unexpected act of kindness? Share your story in the comments. We'd love to hear it. And if this tale moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Story Dash for more unforgettable stories. Thank you for watching.